Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to today's program, another series in the University of Illinois Scholarship Forum webinar series. And today, of course, we'll be talking about the graduate school interviews and tips and tricks to making the most of your preparations and also ensuring that you have a successful experience. So, and today we will be having speakers, including myself, Abdulkabir Omeza, and I'm a PhD student here in Germany. And along with me today will be Scholar Goodness Ajamu, who is a graduate student at the Exaisis Years University, right? Some university in Turkey currently. And we have another PhD scholar, Scholar Habib Yusuf, who's currently in France. So welcome, Scholar Goodness and Scholar Habib and everyone to today's session. So just a brief overview of exactly what you should expect from today's session. We would firstly start with an introductory talk about exactly what kind of things you should look out for from your preparation phase of your grad school interviews down to the experience and down to after your grad school interviews, and what you should expect, what it should be like, and what are the things you should really think about in these different phases. So this will be a very short introductory talk, but that is not the most exciting thing today, I think. I think one of the most exciting things today is we are doing something that you rarely find on webinars, which is why we think this is more like an experiential workshop for everyone who's here today. And that is that we will be having a live interview session where we'd have volunteers come up and would have a kind of a demonstration to show you exactly how interviews would usually, happen in real time. And then we would also provide real-time feedbacks to tell you exactly based on the things we've learned from the short introductory talk and our own experiences, having conducted several mock interviews with several individuals. We'll be offering insights and tailored inputs to help individuals prepare better for the next steps in their graduate school interview process. So this is going to be very exciting, but even this, I think it's something that actually we also segment in layers. We have the first aspect where we actually do the mock session, and then we have the end where we'll actually provide practical insights into exactly how to prepare for our interviews. So from the start to the finish of this webinar today and workshop, what you'll be expecting is that there's the increasing level of importance and relevance of the contents. And at the end of the day, you have the peak of it all, where you kind of get really, really experience into, even if you have not had an interview kind of real experience before, you would have an insight and an exact view of about how it actually happens and unfolds in real time. We hope you stay tuned and you really make the most of today's session. Once again, welcome everyone. And now I will leave Scholar Goodness Ajamu to kind of give the first introductory lecture about what grad school interviews would actually entail. Scholar Goodness, over to you.
Oh, many thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Ajama Goodness, and currently I am a graduate student here at AGS University, Turkey. So, Scholar Habib, it's AGS, it's pronounced AGS University. Okay, yes. So today we're looking at our a theme titled Cracking Graduate School Applications. So, in a bit, I would have my presentation up so we can all see together. Okay. Okay, guys, do confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Oh, beautiful.
But it's
So,
not yet in the slideshow format.
okay. Yeah, again, so we're looking at tips and tricks to cracking graduate school interviews. How do we go about just presenting our best self? Because it's all about presenting our best self, being authentic, right? And just aligning our goals with what the requirements of the lab or the school is. So, today we'll be looking at preparation strategies, basically. We're looking at effective communication strategies. We'll be looking at tips for engaging the interviewer. And of course, we'll be looking at our post-interview and wrap up. Okay.
Yeah, Scholar, you can just click on the next on the screen. You should next.
I'm trying to do that now. It's kind of.
You can just double click. I think it works that way.
Okay, it's.
Yep.
It was actually even moving. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at preparation strategies. The thing is, with graduate school applications, I would say, is not impossible, right? Whenever we talk about graduate school applications, what really happens in the minds of people is that you have a very, very big tax. And don't get me wrong, it is, of course. I mean, it's a big tax, but with the right approach, with the confidence you need, I believe you can actually crack graduate school applications and the interviews that come with it. So, what exactly are the preparation strategies? If you pay attention to graduate school applications, you'll find that they're not very different with traditional interviews. Of course, there are nuances. There are certain nuances that lie with graduate school interviews, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really actually very, very similar to traditional interviews. And how similar are they? The first is you have decent preparation. And by decent, I mean proper preparation. When you're properly prepared, then the confidence that comes with being prepared shines through, right? And of course, when you have answers to certain questions that are usually being asked in a graduate interview setting, then you're also set up for success. And of course, if you also are very, very prepared with regards to environment and whatever, and the mindset you're going in to the interview with. So all these are very, very important things to really keep in check and keep in mind. So we're looking at the preparation strategies now. And first off, it starts with doing the due diligence, right? Doing the due diligence. And what's this due diligence? We're looking at researching the program and the faculty. I mean, you're coming into a graduate school interview. You have the panel, usually consisting of one or two, even more people, and you barely know anything about the department. You barely know about anything about the program itself. I wonder what you'll be telling the interviewers. You see, so for you to really go into a graduate school interview, there is every need to do the due diligence, which is going the extra mile, right? So researching the program, so researching the faculty. And by the program is specific. You have your program you would like to apply to. And of course, I would believe you've applied before even getting an invite, right? So it is assumed that you've done your due diligence for the program, you've searched the program, you've done the research with regards to the professors that align with your research interest. And of course, you've done the faculty-wide research as well, such that you're able to tell them, because the reason you have to do this is it just communicates a certain level of interest in the program. So by the time you're able to tell them the professors that are working in your particular field of interest, you're able to tell them certain things about what you would like to even add to the program and what you're going to be doing during your interview time, during your graduate school time. These are the things that they begin to see, and wow, this only speaks interest. It only speaks interest, and by that they want to continue with you. And so it's very, very important actually to go the extra mile, researching the program, researching the faculty, and even looking at the professors as well, and how their research line aligns with yours. We're also looking at reviewing common interview questions, right? Like I said earlier on, it is important for you to have certain questions that you have uh, quick answers to, right? You don't want to be in the interview in the interview in the front of the panel, and you're beginning to mumble and you're beginning to stumble on your words. No, it doesn't really it doesn't convey preparedness. And when we talk about graduate school applications, we're talking about it's two things together. You need to be prepared, and you need to be able to show a certain level of interest in the program. When these two very important pieces are missing, then there is a problem. There is a problem. So you want to review certain common interview questions, and these questions will be looking in detail at the very end of this presentation. But for just to give you an opener, we have prepared answers for frequently asked interview questions, such as why this program? I mean, you would agree with me that you're coming into an interview setting and you don't even know why you're applying. Are you applying because for the fun of it, or are you applying because there's something you would like to achieve in the program? So there is a need to review certain common interview questions. And these questions could be, okay, what are your research interests? What exactly piques your interest? What has made you apply to this program? And how are you looking to use this knowledge from the program to advance your career? These are some of the questions that you might likely want to prepare for. Also, it is incredibly important. It is incredibly important to create a personal pitch, what is called an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is basically just, or probably depending on context, you could have it to be a minute, you could have it to be a minute 30 seconds, just a short pitch about what you do, who you are, your background, right, and your research interest. I mean, if you're able to condense all this information into a minute or a minute 30 seconds, then you're very, very good. I mean, this is likely the first thing you're going to be doing in the interview. And when you do not do a good justice, because you could do justice but not good justice, when you do not do good justice to your elevator pitch, it just signals unpreparedness. And like we've already highlighted, preparedness is something you want to communicate at the very beginning of your interview. You want to show a certain level of interest, a certain level of preparedness, right? And the way to convey that is by having a stellar personal pitch, an elevator pitch. So your personal pitch should summarize your academic journey, okay? Your key achievements, right? Of course, there should be certain things you've been doing in your research line, and you should be able to condense all this information into a minute 30 seconds, for you to be able to tell the graduate school interview who you are as a person. So what are the interview skills you want to look at? What do you want to prepare for before? Because what I've discussed prior is like three interview skills. You should be ready for those things. I mean, you don't come to the interview and getting ready for the interview with all those questions. They should be done beforehand. So now you're in the interview. What exactly is expected of you? So the first thing, even before effective communication techniques, you want to talk about your background. And by background, I mean the background of your environment. You don't want to have an interview and some form of trouser is dangling in the background, or you some of it doesn't signal professionalism. Okay, you want to be in an environment that is quiet. Okay, you want to be in an environment that is put together. Okay, that is well put together. And if you're unable to do just that bit, I wonder what you'll be doing in the program. So again, all the opportunity you have, you want to signal, you want to convey professionalism, preparedness, interest at every point in time, because you're not the only one that they're interviewing. Others will have their things together. And if you're unable to have your things together, then probably that is why, of course, you'll be picked, someone else will be picked over you. So you want to hit every single thing properly. Okay, let's delve into effective communication techniques. Scholars in the room would agree with me that it is almost impossible for you to go through a graduate school program properly without effective communication skills. I mean, how do you convey your thoughts to your colleagues? How do you convey your thoughts to the wider scientific community? How do you even convey your thoughts to the graduate panel, right? So these are very, very important things, and they cannot be taken for granted. Okay. So effective communication skills, what does it entail? You want to communicate your thoughts clearly. You want to have them clearly communicated and concisely too. I mean, the idea of the elevator pitch just kind of emboldens this idea, because you have so much to say, or you're trying to condense all this information into a whole, into something smaller, but still does the job of really giving an overview of what you're saying. So you want to communicate clearly and concisely, and a larger part of effective communication is active listening. You don't want to be you don't want to be talking and the very panel is talking, everybody is just talking, the words are just hitting, no one is getting. Come on, come on. So it should be like a two-way street, right? The same way they're interviewing you, you are also interviewing the panel. So it's a two-way street, this communication we're talking about. So you want to give attention. Attention should be paid to effective communication, communicating clearly, communicating concisely, listening actively throughout the program, throughout the session. Okay. So you also want to go ahead by asking clarifying questions because certain things will be unclear to you by the end of the interview. You want to put all this in writing, right? And so I should also mention that as you do the interview, there is need to have a writing material with you, right? You don't want to go there and just you're just listening and there's nothing else going on. You want to put down certain things. Okay, how did they come across when you were interviewing with them? How was the interview? How did it make you feel? Do you think it's a good fit for you from what you were able to deduce from the conversation? All of these are very, very important, and you have to keep tabs on this. Okay, talk about body language. I mean, what is communication if there is no body language? I think there's a research on this that almost even 90% of effective communication is likely due to body language. I mean, you're not you're in an interview setting and you're just sitting like someone that just got out of a hospital. I mean, you want to be able to sit straight, be able to look the interviewers in the eyes, right? You are this is serious business, okay? So you want to be able to sit properly and be able to look at the interviews and engage them. So all these are the things that you want to put into perspective, you want to put into consideration. So the body language is really, really important, very, very important. And of course, it plays a significant role in how you're perceived in the graduate school interview. Your facial expressions, you don't want to be rumbling and be in doubt about certain things. All these things are not ideal. So you want to work on this and your spoken language. Very, very important. So of course, this handling difficult questions. This is something that would occur in your graduate school interview. There is no way you're going to go through a graduate school interview and everything is going to be easy peasy. That is just that is like an ideal situation. And you'd agree with me that there is nothing like an ideal situation. So there will be difficult questions and you should be prepared for that, right? So you want to be prepared for difficult questions and you should be able to maintain a positive demeanor when you don't know the answers to those questions because sometimes you will not know the answers to the question. That is something I would like to tell you. And if you do not know the answers to the questions, do not be tempted to give a false answer to the questions. You don't want to give a false answer. It is okay to say you don't know at the moment, but you're willing to learn. I mean, that is why you're applying for a PhD program to learn. It's not like you have everything figured out already, right? So you want to be able to be able to tell them that okay, this particular problem I do not know the answer for now. But at some point in time, of course, I'll be willing to learn whatever I would like to, that is required of me to learn. It just goes to tell them that you're willing to learn in the program, and of course, that goes to it shows that you're someone that is ready for graduate school. So you also want to be in the interview to show them your problem solving skills because as a graduate student, more of what you'll be doing is problem solving. You'll be adding knowledge to the field of knowledge that is already present. So you need to be able to be a problem solver, someone that is able to think on the fly and do things even spontaneously if needed. Professional etiquette. Professional etiquette. Again, professionalism is key. Professionalism is key. You're coming to a professional environment. The graduate school environment is not a place for jokes, right? It is where serious business is conducted. So there are, of course, certain professional etiquettes that you would need even before getting into the program. And what are those? Post-interview etiquette. Now you have gone through the whole interview process, right? You have done your due diligence. You have been able to convey your responses to the panel, and they've been able to see whatever you have to say. So post-interview, what are you expected to do? Of course, you want to send an appreciation email. You don't just finish the interview and that's it. Come on. You need to be able to send them an email for having you, for letting you be present in the interview. Because there are a ton of other candidates they would have gone with, but they decide to go on with you. So you should be able to tell them and appreciate them for the opportunity. And second on the list is reflection, right? You have now conducted the interview. You want to look over, is this from what you've been able to say and from the responses from the interviewers? Because of course, I believe you've asked questions. You want to be able to reflect over these questions. Is this program ideal for me? From the responses I've received at this, do the core values of this department, of this faculty, align with me? And if it does, then of course you're able to keep that in mind. And that is why it is incredibly important to have a jotting note, right? You need to be able to write things down. I mean, how do you remember all those things when you're in the heat of the moment? You have to put these things down and be able to remember and reflect on these things post interview. And of course, sometimes the graduate school panel, they get entangled in a lot of things and probably might forget to inform you of the decision, right? Things happen, and sometimes it's just important to also have a follow-up email. Probably you have waited 1, 2 weeks, and there's nothing in the clouds, nothing. You could just write a follow-up email telling them about asking them about the outcome of your interview. This is this is necessary if the time is already getting too much and you would like to have a response to the interview that was conducted. And of course, this has to be done professionally. There are ways to ask questions, so you don't just go on and start asking what is the outcome of it. You need to be very professional in the way you communicate. These are very, very important tips. Yes. So conclusion. What are we looking at? Again, let me reiterate what I said. It is incredibly important. I can't even stress how important this is. You have to research your program because questions will emanate from this end. There are questions that will come from this end. Be sure of that. And you don't even know your program. You just know that you want to do research on biochemistry or you want to do research in the natural sciences, but you have no exact path. There is no clear path. You don't even know the professors available in the lab. There is nothing. You see, these are the things that just they don't encourage the interviewers to really proceed with you. And these are things you want to avoid. And of course, you want to be able to practice your personal pitch. Important. Very, very important. Remember, I said this is like the first thing you're going to be saying. And if you're unable to nail this, there's going to be problems. So you have to be able to have your personal pitch together. It's an elevator, it's just a minute, right? You should be able to come up with something tight, something very, very standard that would set the tune for what comes next. And of course, you also want to be able to hone your interview skills. And by this, I mean your communication skills, your body language. These are things that you'll be using throughout your graduate program if you accept it. So you want to be very, very proficient in this sense. Your emotional skills, everything has to be in check. Everything has to be perfect. Okay? And these are the things that you would work on throughout your graduate school journey. And these are incredibly important. Okay. Thank you so much again for the audience, and I appreciate it. Scholar Abdulkadir, you may continue.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scholar Goodness, for that. You can take down your screen now, and then yeah, you can just stop sharing. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. This has really been an exciting journey. Like it's always important to kind of put some names and some guides and kind of put some structure into what one should think about and how one should actually approach in graduate school interviews and scholarship interviews. And this is where we get into one of the exciting moments of this program today, because now we've actually have a kind of a skeletal framework about exactly what interviews should be like. I mean, what you should expect to do, how you should condition your mind going into a graduate school interview / scholarship interview. And mind you, this is applicable whether you've done these interviews before or you've not. So these are kind of practical tips that you should actually keep in mind. So now we will move into the practical section, right? Very exciting one where you actually get to sit down and really watch an interview happen. And then it would be nice if you all can take notes about what you think. Maybe this is not good, this is something that I think maybe maybe was not done right. Maybe I could do it right. Or these are things that, wow, if I was in the same situation, I would probably not have answered to the same level, right? So take notes, and then you will try to stay till the end where you actually hear feedback from us, myself, Habib, and of course, Scholar Goodness, because we've amassed altogether experience conducting mock sessions for over 60 persons, I would boldly say. And this is something that we're going to offer on a very simple platform to you all today as you stay with us. So quickly, I will bring the volunteers who are going to be the interviewees for today, who have successfully made it to our interview phase of this UISF scholarship interview preparation webinar. So we have Scholar Nima Tulahi, and Scholar Nima, for this sake of this practical session, she's applying for a PhD position at University of Kentucky, and on the program of intermediate wheatgrass breeding, genetics and flavor. And of course, Scholar Nima, you can turn on your video. And then we also have hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so we also have another scholar, Scholar Erudite. Of course, that's his nick, who will be joining us today also as a volunteer interviewee. And for the sake of this program, of course, he's applying for a PhD also at development at the University of Manitoba. And the program is on development of smart sensing system and advanced data analytics for grain storage management and agri-food quality monitoring. So Scholar Erudite, please also turn on your video so that for easy reference. And yep, okay. Is your video on, Scholar Erudite? Okay, so is it correct that I am able to pin people right now? Scholar Habib, am I able to spotlight you right now? Because I'm trying to like pin so that for easy reference of the audience. Does it show for
No, I don't think so.
Okay, maybe it's just working for me. So I cannot identify Scholar Erudite on the audience, so because it would have been nice if he turns his video on. And of course, the last scholar, I don't know if he's here with us yet. Can you confirm whether he's here with us, Scholar Habib?
No, I don't think so. I think we are going with Nema and Erudite.
Okay. Where is Scholar Erudite? I cannot find him.
Yeah, just a moment.
And Scholar Nima just dropped. Scholar Nima, please turn on your video. Thank you. Scholar Nima? Okay. Yeah. Just a minute, guys. We're trying to have them turn on the video. Okay. Scholar Liu, I already have your video on. And Scholar Nima. Can you hear us? Scholar Sakani Motula. Hello. Okay.
Is she on the call?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. Okay, we just Scholar Liu, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Okay.
Yes, I'm your scholar.
Hello. This Scholar Nima, are you with us?
Yes,
Okay, thank you for being with us. Yeah, so we will start, of course, right now. So you can turn off your you can unmute yourself. Sorry. Okay. So quickly, just to give everyone in the audience a brief of recap about what we expect to do just within this within this 20-30 minutes to 40 minute session, is that we will have a mock actual interview session where you actually see us asking questions and you see interviewers on the other side being put on the stand to really, respond to the questions. And then you will have a session where we'll give you a feedback on exactly what they've done, because we are going to be writing these down. We'll tell you exactly what they've done well, what they've not done well, or where they could do better and how they could do it. So, and at the end of the day, we're going to have your questions. So please stay in tune. If you think you had some comments about what's been said, or at any point in the interview, some things were unclear to you, you could ask the questions at the last stage of the program today. And that's also very going to be an exciting session, because there we really want to interact with you guys on a 1 to 3 basis. So yeah, Scholar Liu is with us now, right? Is this correct? You can unmute yourself, Scholar Liu. Okay, so I'm going to go with, yes, Scholar Nima. Scholar Nima, thank you and welcome to today's mock session. As you know, my name is Abdul Kabir Omeiza, and I'm going to be one of your interviewers today. And along with me on the panel is Scholar Goodness Ajamu and Scholar Habib Yusuf. Together, we will form the panel for your interview session today, and we will be hoping to learn from you about your motivation and exactly learn more about your motive for applying and why you have chosen to apply to our program here. So starting from you quickly, Scholar Nima, without further ado, we saw your excellent application package and we were impressed by it. However, we would like you to first kind of introduce yourself, give us a bit about who you are, and yeah, so please do introduce yourself.
all right. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sekanmo Joke. I am a passionate researcher from Nigeria. I have a background in plant biology and pharmacognosy. Currently, I want to advance my career in plant genetics and molecular biology, which is why I'm actually applying to this program to breed Kenza as intermediate wheat grass. I'm particularly interested in breeding specialized crop and grains. So my skills, academic professional skills, shows my passion for plants, to breed plants for food, health, and sustainability. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scholar Nima, for that actually really brief and concise introduction. Now up to you, Scholar Goodness. Sorry, Scholar Aliu. Is he on the call? Okay.
It just dropped.
All right, Scholar Nima, it was nice to learn about exactly what you mentioned, that you had your background in pharmacognosy and you also had a background in plant biology. And it was nice to see that you said you want to really bridge the gap in certain areas of the field research. So just let us know, tell us more about exactly why you have applied to this program exactly.
Okay. First of all, I think my first point of motivation is the innovative idea about breeding the intermediate wheat grass. Normally, grains are usually annual crops, but coming across a team that breed grains into perennial crops interests me. And I feel with a background in plant biology, where I major in plant genetics and molecular biology, my skills, laboratory skills in pharmacology, I would be a good
Okay, so this is yeah, so this is kind of one of the things. I mean, it's also a training moment for everyone on the call, because if having an interview and having a Nigerian factor play significantly as this. So this is something that in our own experience, I've heard several stories about people losing interviews just because you have your network this way and affect your performance. So this is something definitely should not come up if you are preparing for an interview. It is your duty and your role to kind of try to ensure that you have your connectivity at the optimum level before your interview. So it is your responsibility and not the responsibility of people who are kind of going to interview you. So if you have this kind of situation in your own call, it spells not so good news for you. So yeah, now we have, unfortunately, Nigeria affecting 2 people who were the core volunteers. For Aliu Ayola is on the call, but his network consistency is highly doubt. So Aliu, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, but your video is not on, and
Ali,
it is not.
please, we need to be sure that you are still with us, please. Aliyu, please.
So every time you're on the call, please you have your video on, and then we can know that you are with us. That's very important, please.
Okay, I'm trying to set it up on I'm trying to resume back on my system. That's why I just joined back on my phone.
We can hear you now, so maybe while you are trying to do that, maybe you can just answer the next question that we have for you. Is that okay?
All right.
All right. So, Mr. Aliu, we noticed, I mean, you applied for the program in Smart Systems Engineering. So I kind of let Scholar Habib actually take the stance and answer any questions now. Scholar Habib.
Okay, thank you so much, Aliyu Ayola. We saw your interesting profile for why you submit your application for this program. So I'm curious. We've received a lot of applications, so we have a lot of them. Why do you think we should consider you? Why do you think you are the best fit for this program?
Okay. Yeah, I think why I think I'm the best fit for this program is that it solemnly aligns with my interest one, and then my doggedness, my determination, my resilience makes me the best candidate for this opportunity. And also my recent work, like that's my undergraduate work, has prepared me for this program. Also, I've volunteered um different volunteering works which align solemnly with my area of interest. That is with this smart sensing systems. So these are prepared me for this program, which makes me I think the best fit for it. Also, I would like to add that my undergraduate program has also fostered in me this thing I need, the zeal I need to thrive in any circumstance, irrespective. I can work under any circumstance, and then I'm a good team worker too. So this makes me a good fit for the program.
Okay, thank you so much for that interesting response. So while you were answering my previous question, you said your previous project, which was your undergraduate project, has kind of prepared you for this particular program. So I'm now interested, can you tell me a little bit about your undergraduate project, what you did, and how it aligns with our program?
Yeah, my undergraduate program, my undergraduate research work was the design and fabrication of a cassava grater. Sorry, a cassava grater.
Sorry, just a moment. Are you connecting with two phones or two systems?
Yeah, it connects on my system also.
Can you try to mute one of them so that we can have a clear audio?
One is mute.
I think it has to do with the audio more. So it should be that the audio of one is also like turned off and put at not close proximity. I think this would be nice. So caller Ali, we can't hear you no more. We can't hear you now. You are muted
So
here.
what about now?
Yes, this is perfect. Okay, go on.
Okay. So my undergraduate program, that is the research work I did, design and fabrication of the cassava grater. I actually went, first of all, before designing my the cassava grater, I went to the National Center for Agricultural Mechanization to check their previous works on both cassava grater and cassava peeler. So I looked at the process and try understanding how they built their own system. So that was serve as a basics for my own work. So I went together because I did my undergraduate project with a partner. So we're just two in my group that did it. So we designed that cassava grater and we tested the efficiency. So this prepared me because I have a strong interest in post harvest grain preservation. So that is where I solely have interest in. So that prepared me, and this smart system also aligns with it because it also deals with post-harvest grains. So that is why I think my undergraduate project aligns solely with it.
Okay, thank you so much for your response. Now we have Sakanima. Are you back with us, please? Can you turn on your camera?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I think I will allow Scholar Goodness to continue with the next question.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, Scholar, I think Nima now. Or probably I should just continue with Ali.
No, I mean you can
Ali.
ask the two other questions to to one of them each, so they have to answer one time.
Okay, so Ali, you're going first then. Ali, you have heard what you said, and yes, it's quite nice that you had research you did during your undergrad. And I was just very curious. Like you said, you had your undergrad studies and you had a thesis that you did. So I was wondering what challenges and what obstacles you faced during when you were undertaking your research work. So could you just clearly just state what obstacles and challenges you faced during your undergraduate thesis, when writing your undergraduate thesis?
Can you come again?
Yeah, so what were the challenges that you've encountered when you were undertaking your undergraduate, when you were doing your undergraduate project? And what challenges did you encounter when writing your thesis? So I would like to know.
You're muted.
First of all, the challenge I have
Should I repeat my question?
Yeah, I think you should come again. That would be better.
Now you've already made it clear that you did an undergraduate project, right? And that's very good. But my question to you now is, what were the obstacles you faced? I mean, with regards to your thesis writing or maybe the project itself. So what were the challenges you encountered during this process?
Okay, majorly
can hear you, Scholar Liu, and you can speak.
I think his network is actually very bad.
Yeah, then it's fine. Just keep the next question to
Okay.
Scholar Nima.
Yeah,
Let him
the
answer.
same question goes to Scholar Nima. I believe you did an undergraduate thesis, I would assume. Please, could you walk us through your undergraduate thesis? What did you do specifically?
Okay. During my undergraduate project, I actually cultivated 40 accessions of millets, and in a control environment in the greenhouse. I subjected them into drought to test the ability to withstand water stress. So some varieties had tolerate drought, while some did not. I think 7% of the varieties I worked on then tolerated drought. So the impact of that research was that they will be good for cultivation in water limited environments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think so. Okay, that's all right. So do you think there's anything novel about your research? Do you think anything was new about the research you did? And if not,
Yes, there is.
okay,
What did you say?
I said, if
Did you say
not,
something? I can. No, there is actually. Because in all the varieties I've worked on, it seems that we fair research on what has means, right? But for the fact that I worked on different varieties, so I feel that is like bringing a lot of varieties together to test them at once. So that is a part of that is the novelty I see there. Like at least I was able to screen 40 varieties, and out of the 40, we could realize like 70% of them were tolerant to drought.
mm-hmm.
So it's just in the number of the varieties. I mean, not actually in the entirety of the project. So,
Okay.
because I was not even only millets, I did Asha and sorghum, but I reported only millets. So my other team member reported the other plants.
Okay, thank you so much. And my last question would be, do you envisage any future directions for the research you conducted?
Please, can you come again? I think I'm not getting that part. Did I?
The question is, you have done the research now, and that's fantastic, what you've done. And I'm asking, are there any future directions you're looking at? Would you want to do something else, or is there like something you could do to advance what you've done already?
Yes. Oh, at some point, I feel I wanted to do something else, which informed my decision to take to go for research on medicinal plants, that from cognosing. But at the instance, let me say, during my MSc project, I realized the same problem still surface. For instance, when I was working on this xanthoxylum, xanthoxyloid, that this plant is thorny in nature, so we couldn't get a fruiting part to authenticate it. So it actually delayed the publication, and that was when the thought of, oh, is it that we could breed this plant to be in abundance, so that at least the part of getting the fruiting material for authentication would not be a problem. Aside xanthoxylon, Bryocarpus coccineus was another plant I worked with. It was very difficult to get these plants. I had to travel back to another state to get these plants. So that was when the thought of breeding plants comes to my mind, that how could plants be as difficult as this? So I think if I had not done a project in a project that deals with not like plant breeding or looking at the morphological condition of plants under environmental condition, I wouldn't have thought I wouldn't have thought about breeding a medicinal plant. So I won't say my undergraduate, because it actually prompted a question in me was working on plants. And I think the combination of heat and the fact that I was at a point looking for medicinal plants was what brought about or prompted my my curiosity to still want to be an expert in plant breeding, at least to sustain plant for food, medicine, and just contribute to life, make plants available for food and for health. So like everything boils down to my undergraduate project.
Oh, okay, thank you so much for that answer. Yeah, I would now switch to Aliyu. Ali, are you there?
It's fine. I think we can already, if we can't get Aliyu on the call, it's fine that we can wrap up. So I can do it if that is okay by you. Scholar Goodness.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Scholar Nima. So and Scholar Liu for your participation in today's session. And for the audience, I want you to really, really look forward to this next session, because now, because of the fact that we couldn't really treat some of the questions that we wanted to, because of the network instability and inconsistency, we would give reviews on some questions we actually did not ask. So we would more or less like give inputs and insight for you on what you should think about when you actually have to prepare for these questions and how you plan for them. So you're not going to miss anything out, because here we are going to leverage our so much rich experience to really give you relevant insights. So you've kind of you've watched the interview unfold from start to finish. Of course, you've seen typical context how interviews works. You've seen that if due preparation is critically very important, and there are some factors that are actually beyond you just reading this faculty interest and research that actually help you actually be successful in the interview. And one of such factors is your internet, right? Because this cannot be overemphasized. If you have to do an interview and you don't take care of that variable, there is no explanation to say, yeah, I'm in Nigeria or I'm in the far corner of the world. This is why I cannot do it. The moment it's scheduled, we have several applicants. And the longer you spend trying to navigate your network challenges, the more time you take from your actual interview time, and the more you stress your panelists and your interviewers, and the more negative impression you leave with them. So it shows that preparation was not actually actively done. So this is something that you don't want to even think about. Like, there is no second guess. You have to get it right. And there's no negotiation about it. I personally have experience of losing interviews just because you had the network challenges, but it doesn't matter. It's your challenge and you have to fix it. So even if it is light also, I mean, we, just to keep it on a really informal note, like we once had a mock session with someone, I say this every time, he went actually out in the night to use the street light to actually do the interview. And that actually goes down to show you how committed he wanted to show that he was, to ensure that the interview actually went fine. And currently he's in the US, with his graduate program. So these are tested and trusted approaches that we believe will be very, very insightful for the audience here today. And so quickly, we will go to exactly what our evaluation. So in the course of our evaluation, we evaluate actually in 3 steps. So the first step is actively, we will not comment in details about the different aspect of the responses of the interviewees. What we will just talk about is actively, if we had to accept, reject, or put them on reserve list based on this performance, what would be our verdict? So very interesting bell rings. So Scholar Goodness, just a simple yes, what reserve list, reject, or accept?
Are we looking at both interviewers at this point, or just individually?
Yes, I mean, disclaimer, please. Everyone, you are here and you definitely understand that we don't have significantly enough information on individual person to be able to give a very, very applicable kind of response, but we just want to simulate what impression was left based on just a few questions they were able to answer. Okay.
Okay. Probably for Scholar Nima, I think she would be on reserve list for me. And for Scholar Liu, just probably because of the internet, I think it would be a rejection.
Okay. Scholar Habib?
Okay. Honestly, both of you have really tried. We really appreciate your time with us, and but unfortunately, I would be going with other candidates for our applications, for both of you, sorry.
Okay, so it's a kind of unanimous idea. So and this is why it's important, because at the end of the day, probably the reason why you think they've been rejected is not actually the reason why we are rejecting them. Probably there are somewhat other reasons, but it will unfold in due course, in due time, shortly. And for me personally, I also feel like I'm going to reject both applicants, and largely because for Scholar Liu, the network was a very significant challenge and I couldn't really get so much from him, but also because even the few things I got from him, it was not convincing enough for me to really place that above the network challenge that happened. So it was kind of like, yeah, I could get a little from you, and from the little I wasn't really convinced, you know. And that's the good thing about having a strong network, because maybe some part of your interview was not the best, but some part was the best, and then you have an evaluation, a kind of a balanced evaluation. But if your network is good when you are not at the best part of your interview and it's bad when you are the best part, then it's kind of impeded, biased kind of evaluation. So yeah, we quickly go to the next aspect, and this is actually where we talk about the general things. This nothing specific about individual responses, it's just about the general things. What was our observation generally, and what could they improve? So we will not talk about their responses or basically the specific things they could have done in the different responses. And I will start with this, right? Firstly, I think that at a point in time, I felt, Scholar Liu, you were actually looking at the paper. Now, I usually think that, I usually say this, and that's that it can be true or false. But if it is true, then you should not do that. And if it is false, then you've let that impression stand. So it doesn't matter. And these are things I would not bring out if I would be in an actual interview with you. I will just note down what on paper, and it will affect my evaluation of you. So that goes to what Scholar Goodness said about the non-verbal, the body language, right? The non-verbal communication. So if you were looking somewhere else, whether you were not reading something and it feels like you were actually reading something and saying it, it significantly impedes affects your evaluation, right? Yeah, of course, the network is also something, definitely. And Scholanima, it's understandable if the camera is positioned at a different angle, but one key thing that is always very important is that if your camera is down or up, you find a way for you to have a balanced look at the camera. It's very important. Now, people kind of undermine the importance of this. They're like, oh yeah, I mean, it's just camera angles and things like this. Fine, I mean, but the truth still remains that all these non-verbal cues have a way of shaping people's perception of you, and their perception of you has a way of shaping their evaluation, and their evaluation has a way of shaping the outcome of your interview process. So there are subtle things that you really have to think about, and that is why sometimes we even advise the interviewees that they kind of put a smile on their face. It doesn't have to be an original smile, but it's just a smile to soften the environment, right? To just show them that, oh, I'm not tensed, even if your body is boiling and you're kind of, your temperature is the highest level it can reach. So this is kind of the general comment I have to offer. So Scholar Habib and Scholar Goodness, if you have something else, you can really share them now.
You actually do have. Okay, that's all right. For both interviewers, this applies to both of you. For me, I think the first thing I noted was the eye contact thing. I wasn't really seeing the eye, probably because of the camera angle again. I felt that the eyes were just above the camera and no eye contact was sustained. And I think that really is a big deal for me. And also, I felt that during the interview, there was like a kind of a rush just to answer questions. I mean, you have to be relaxed. Again, it goes to give credence to the fact that confidence has to be conveyed. You have to be confident in what you're saying. And when you speak very, very fast and the interviews are racing to understand what you're saying, this will significantly impedes a favorable decision in your favor. So also, I felt at some point, I think there was a question that probably Scholar Habib asked, or I did, and there was a very, very long answer to the question. I mean, it was just so long, I was running out of patience. So please, again, you have to really be concise with your answers. Again, you have to just condense. There's a lot to say, obviously. There's a lot to say. And all you need to do is condense whatever you want to say into something that just gives an overview of the whole thing. And again, at some point, I felt like probably Scholar Ali was not as confident as I would have loved him to be, right? It was like you were not very confident in. I mean, you have to sit up right, and you have to be able to tell them that you are confident. I mean, if the way you answered your questions did not seem confident to me, I would assume that is how he actually or appeared for the interviewers as well. So you have to there's need for ready-made answers. I mean, at some point they were like ends or maybe. I mean, you have to be together. You have to put yourself together. Again, it's serious business. You can't be coming to the interview and be preparing for your answers in the interview. I mean, of course, there are some questions that you might not have thought beforehand, but for the greater part, you have to be ready with some answers ready. And the last part I would call out is the answers to some questions. I felt like probably I don't know who asked the question, but I think it was a question about research, and I was hearing something like, I did this thing. What is it called? I mean, all those kind of things in between sentences. It shouldn't be appearing. It should not appear in what you're saying. I mean, you did your research, I would assume, and you should be able to give me a good overview of what the research you've done. And when you start mentioning things like, what is it called? What is it called? I mean, come on. These are not things that should appear in your sentences at all. This is graduate school. So you have to be ready with your responses. You don't need to have everything figured out again. Just brief, concise answers. Yeah. So have it.
Scholar Habib, do you have anything to say? That was such a very long and exciting comment from Scholar Goodness. All right, Scholar Habib.
Yeah, honestly, I think you guys have said it all. I would just like to say something again. First of all, I would like to appreciate both of you. We were supposed to be three, but for some reasons, you guys are two. And it really takes courage to be able to stand in front of a lot of people and be interviewed. So we really appreciate the fact that you are doing this for everybody. And we understand that some of your body languages, like your confidence might be affected due to the fact that, I mean, this is an open space, but this again is a way to show you that these are some of things that you are going to experience when you are facing panel, because you never can tell how many of them you are going to be facing, So we understand that some of your, maybe the confidence or something like that, it's influenced by the fact that you are being interviewed in front of a lot of people and you are kind of tensed and all. It's understandable. But at the same time, we should get used to this kind of situation. So I'm not going to go back to what they've said again, because I think they've said it all. But what was that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we can hear you. Is that all from you? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. So that's all for me. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Quickly, we would have to, of course, keep most of our feedbacks really a bit distinct and concise too. So typically, now I will actually go through the responses to the questions that I got from that we got from the panel, from the interviewees, and then we will talk about exactly what could have been done better and what was missing. So the first person was actually that we asked Scholar Nima to introduce herself, and she said something about her name. She mentioned that she has a background in plant biology and pharmacognosy, and she mentioned that she wants to bridge gap within certain genetic kind of research. And she said that that's actually why she have applied to this program, and her background shows her strong connection to this program. This was the line of not exactly word for word, but it's kind of like the context of what she was able to establish within this small scale of the introduction. So quickly on a quick comment, and is that, of course, Scholar Goodness, you can start. Just keep it as brief as you can.
Okay, so I will probably reiterate what I already said with regard to answering questions. Your elevator pitch has to be a minute long. For me, I think a minute is actually ideal. Just have it a minute long. Again, you're talking about your name, your background, and your research interests, and how those interests of yours align with the program you're applying for. I mean, this is just a template, as straight as that. Your name, your background, your research interests, and how those interests of yours align with the program you're applying for. And that is how you put up a good elevator pitch. However you want to do that, that it conforms to a minute, find it. I don't know if you understand me. Find it. Your name, your background, your research interest, and how those interests of yours align with the lab. That would be my comment.
Okay. So just to expound on that, I really also need to really quickly comment on this so that maybe people, you don't kind of like misappropriate the structure. Like I'm talking about, of course, the audience, misappropriate the structure that exactly Scholar Goodness just mentioned. Because one thing you have to think about is that, of course, the introduction is kind of your elevator pitch, but it kind of shows your direction, right? And that is like, you don't spend the most of it talking about why you have applied to the program, because that's a different question. But like Scholar Goodness says, you have to give like a liner. We always think this is kind of the last point where you kind of give a liner of exactly what connects where your journey, where you're coming from to the program you've applied for. But usually, for you to have been successful with this is basically that, I mean, in some instances, the interviewers will tell you, yeah, you have already started on that. Of course, it's nice to see they've already mentioned a bit on that. We want you to talk more about it. And then you go to expand more about it. So don't spend the 1 minute to get there and then another 1 minute to talk about why you have to be selected. So it's kind of like a summary you actually add at this elevator pitch point, and then you expound on it when you follow it up. So what we usually say is typically you talk about your name, of course, and then, of course, your background. So a typical kind of example would be something like, my name is Abdelkabir Omeiza, and I have a bachelor's degree in blah, 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 blah from the University of this. Only because of my bachelor's degree, I took extensive courses in this and this and this. And these courses actually inspired me to take on hands-on experience on this. In this way, I've acquired 2 years experience in this area and 3 years experience in this area. Ultimately, I've built a robust, strong technical and academic background in this area and this area that allowed me to really graduate as the best graduate student, or as a top 5, or as a competent professional in this particular area. And now I'm seeking to explore opportunities around this area and this area. And that is actually why I've applied for this program, because this program will allow me to do this, this, and this. Simple. That's all. Like typically, from you've taken them through your journey, what were the important highlights of the journey that are actually relevant? You show them how they are relevant, and you show them how it guided your journey towards the program. So this is something I typically would usually advise that you kind of follow this line, and I think you have a surefire way about, starting that. And this is very, very important. Introduction is very, very important. Why? Because it's your first opportunity to make an impression. So why some people are able to effectively move from not too much of a strong impression to a strong impression, I would advise, if you can, always try to give your best shot, because it's easier if you give a strong impression, and then, I mean, it doesn't mean you go down, but it's always better if you start that rather than spending the rest of your interview trying to convince them that you're actually a strong candidate because you missed the first step. So, Scholar Pip, do you have further things to add?
No. I mean, it's just, you guys have said it all. But just to say again, there's this word that they say that first impression matters. And this is your first opportunity to sell yourself. Whatever you're able to achieve within this introductory period is what is going to be built on. So you really need to take it very seriously. So, I mean, if you think of it, just look at it like my past, my present, and my future, all summed up in 1 minute. And that's it. My past, my present, and my future. Remember, all of these should always be linked to the program. Make it seem like what you've been doing, what you are doing, and what you want to do is in line with the program you're applying for. And this is just what it's all about. Yeah.
And the next question was quickly about why you have applied, why this program. That was very the interesting. It was about exactly why you have applied for this program. And this question was asked to Scholar Nima. And the response was typically that I've applied to this program because it's helping me to, I want to bridge the intermediate between wheatgrass and my interest in wheatgrass and genetics. And I also have a background in plant biology and lab skills in pharmacognosy, and I think I'm a good fit for the program. So this is kind of an averagely, typically okay answer, but there could be significant ways to kind of improve the content. And one thing I like to say when people ask this question is, when they ask you why this program, it's more about exactly, you should think about why this specific program and not other programs, right? Like what makes it important to you at this particular point in time. So yeah, your answer should effectively convey why that program specifically is important to you and what role it has to play in your career trajectory, like your career progression. This is very important. So if you're able to effectively establish this on these two levels, I think you've done a very good job. So of course, I will leave Scholar Habib to firstly comment on that.
So yeah, thank you. So actually for me, it was difficult for me to follow, to be honest. And I think the main reason why it was like that is because you were unable to give us what we are looking for. And the way I see this is like, okay, like I said in your introduction, you say your past, your present, and your future. Now, when it comes to why are you applying for this program? Currently, as at today, this is my present, right? The reason why I'm applying for this program is because of the future. And then you want to link that program, the future, to that particular program. So basically, you've done your undergraduate, you've done, I don't know what you're doing currently. For me, if I'm going to answer this question, I have a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering. Currently, I'm doing so XYZ. But I want to do this in the future. This is what I actually want to do. And then I found this particular program which aligns. I mean, this is what this program is currently doing. Even if that is not exactly what you want to do. But now that you're applying for this program, you have to be able to demonstrate that what you want to do is actually what they are doing. And that is why you're interested in them. If I want to come and stay in your house, it means that what you guys are doing in your house is actually what I'm interested in doing, you know. So it was difficult for me to really get the link between what you did, who you are currently, and what the program is offering, you know. So basically, when you want to answer questions like this, like, okay, I'm this, I'm that, this is who I am right now, this is what your program is doing, and this is why specifically, because I mean, there are a lot of programs, there are a lot of projects. I remember you said, okay, yeah, because it was difficult for me to speak, honestly, but you were unable to demonstrate that. And this is also, it contributes to why my decision was rejection, because it's more like, okay, if you are coming to us, then you need to understand what we are doing, you know, and that is why you should be interested in them. Yeah.
Now, yeah, I can thank you very much for that. I think that was nice. So we quickly move to the next question. The question was exactly, why are you the best fit for this program? This question was called Scholar Liu, and the impression here was we actually got that he was reading from the book. It was more or less like he was actually reading from a book next to his on his table. And his answer was, yeah, it aligns with my interest. I have doggedness, I have resilience, and of course, my research and academic background also is very strong and aligns with this program, and that is why I think I am the best fit for this program. That was the response. Personally, I don't think this response flies successfully, but let's hear from Scholar Goodness about what you think about the questions, the response.
Oh, okay. I actually think I got the impression also that he was actually reading from something. I don't know if that is correct or not, but that was the impression that was made. So one thing about telling us why you are the best. I mean, you're not competing against your family members. These are international people. You're competing with students from China, students from the US, students from all over the world. It's not a joke, you know. And one very important thing is to show, not tell, right? This is an important piece of advice. It's not enough for you to tell. You could tell and say whatever you want, but how have you been able to demonstrate that you're actually the best fit? I mean, this goes back to the last question. Okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm currently doing, this is the reason I'm pivoting at this point. What have you done that has shown that this is truly what you want? But in this context, now you've been asked, why are you the best fit? So why not tell them what you have been able to do that would now leave an impression on them that, okay, I think with what he said, I think he actually was his salt then. I mean, you need to be able to show them that you've been able to do certain things. Have you been able to work on projects that have been published? Have you been able to do that? Have you been able to attend conferences? Have you been able to I mean, what are your scores in courses? These are the things you can say. I mean, if you scored like a 90 or a 100 in certain courses, that people would consider very, very arduous. You could mention that. I mean, if you graduated as the best student, you say that. If you have gone to international conferences and if have presented your research in international conferences, why not say that? These are the things that will actually go on to show, not just say. You don't just say, okay, I will do that. No, these are you have to show. There needs to be like an evidence of excellence, right? And if you are able to show them that you're actually a good fit, and you've been able to you have research papers already or publications, mention these papers. And when they actually, you not leave them to do you leave them to be the judge of whether you are or you're not the best fit for the program. So again, it goes back to showing rather than telling.
Very, very insightful. Showing and not telling. And another important thing before I hand over to Scholar Habib to make his comment is structure. Structure makes life easy for you, right? So if you say, why should you be selected for this opportunity? The question is effectively asking you why you and not every other person. And usually one kind of structured approach I suggest to people, I recommend to people, is that you could start from, if you have two reasons, you could say, there are three reasons why I think I'm the best candidate, or why I believe I'm the best candidate for this opportunity. Firstly, my academic background. You go on to explain exactly, not just say I have grades like this, but explain how that actually prepared you with the academic foundational knowledge that are relevant to the courses in the program. So don't just say it gives me the foundational knowledge, but link it exactly to the program to say that I have gotten foundational knowledge in these two courses in this that allows me to be able to engage with modules in this program. If allowing me to effectively be able to navigate the program successfully. Secondly, I have extensive research experience in areas like this and this experience are quite important to the kind of research I want to do during my master's thesis and my research interest, where I want to explore areas like this and this with professor this and this in the program. So effectively already having this background will allow me to be able to successfully navigate and conduct an exciting research, whatever, during the program. Then lastly, maybe you have a leadership skill, or your ability to work with multiple people. You're like, I have amassed impressive leadership skill over the years through my experience. Like this is what Scholar Goodness mentioned about the evidence through my experience working as this person in navigating these scenarios. I'm going to be able to leverage such experience in doing this and this and this in the program effectively, maybe work with people in teams, handling projects, whatever have you, things like this. And then effectively you kind of mention them and then you reiterate lastly. So for these two reasons, firstly, my academics, secondly, my research experience and my leadership skill, I believe I'm the best candidate for this opportunity. Something like the structure automatically gives you a special kind of attention and kind of like the impression that, okay, this person knows what they are doing and they talk. And when you talk structured, it makes it easier for people to follow you, for people to understand you, and people to, assess you in a positive light. So I'll be.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So when you were answering that question, I noted a phrase that you used, I think. Don't think. Be sure of what you are saying. This is what they want to see. They want to see that confidence. Don't say, I think I am. Tell them that you are. If you say you think, then they will also think with you. So let them be sure that you are the best candidate for that. Now, usually I tell people, when you are being asked questions, I think for me, the first thing I try to understand is, what is the motive behind this question? What are they looking for actually? The way I think of this kind of a question is, for example, this is a scholarship, I suppose. They are giving you money. They are funding you to do something. Then put yourself, imagine that, for example, you own a company, or maybe, I don't know, just simple company, fashion designing company, for example, and you want to hire people. Who would you consider that you want to hire? You want to choose people that have the experience, that have the skills, that can relate with people. These are the reasons why, these are the questions they're asking. These are the reasons they want you to give them that, okay, if we are to choose you for this particular program, what are you bringing to the table? This is the way I try to think of those questions. What is the motive behind the question? For me, I used to look at it in different ways. It depends on what you want to put forward. Is it your skills? Is it your motivation? Or I don't know. It could be your technical skills. It could be your communication skill that you want to sell. What's your selling point? that would distinguish you from other people. That, okay, for example, if me as Habib, I can't claim these things. They are very specific to you. And these are your selling points. These are the things you want to sell to them. I'm not going to repeat what they've said, but just take it this way. What are your selling points? What distinguish you from other applicants? And this is what they are looking for. Demonstrate to them your skills, your communication, and motivation. I think that's it.
Thank you very much, really, for that excellent comment. So we have a few more questions to go for us to wrap up today. So the next question was actually, what obstacles and challenges have you experienced? So what are the obstacles and what are the challenges have you experienced?
No, sorry, I think you.
Oh yeah, the next question, sorry, was the one you asked, the second question you asked. Yeah, sorry for my bad. So it was about exactly how his background aligns with the program, I assume, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Scholar Habib, please start your comment on that.
Okay, I mean, my goal for asking this question was you should expect questions that are kind of technical, that are program specific. And honestly, in most interviews, a lot of interviews, your next question is usually, I mean, not every time, but they are usually like a follow-up questions to your previous question. So when you mentioned the fact that, okay, you did in your introduction, in the previous question, you talked about your project, how it aligns with the program. So I was more interested in you telling me what you did during your undergraduate as your thesis, your project, and how it kind of relates to the program. And basically what I'm looking for here is just like, okay, what technical capacity do you have? What are you bringing? And also I want to understand if you actually understand your undergraduate project. You see, those are the things, but honestly, your response was not really satisfying because it's not just about you saying what you did. It's about saying it in a way that links to the program and letting them see the skills that you used during your program and how you are going to use those similar skills. It might be technical skills, maybe your data analysis, or I don't know. It could be your problem solving skill, how you face some challenges and all, and how you're able to solve them during your undergraduate project. And it's, again, always make sure that your response aligns with and this is why from what Scholar Goodness said about you have to have done your homework very well, like know what the program is all about, what they're looking for. This will guide you to always make your response targeted towards the program. And believe me, this is what they are looking for. This is what, because they actually want someone that is specific, that is, how do I say it? Like someone made for that program. Yeah, basically, yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah. I will move on to the next question, if that's okay by you, Scholar Goodness. Okay. Yeah. The next question was, what obstacles and challenges did you experience? And I think the network was actually a very significant factor here, so we didn't really hear the response there. But briefly, Scholar Goodness, can you comment on exactly what you expect to hear when you asked this question? What you think would have been a good response?
What's the question again?
Yeah, what obstacles did they experience in the course of their undergraduate project? Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So, I mean, as expected, no project is expected to go smoothly. Like, that's an ideal situation. And as we all know, there are no ideal situations. So probably you might have encountered certain obstacles or certain blockades during your research project. So what is expected of you in this scenario is to really tell how you were able to overcome. We're not very interested in the problem itself, but how you were able to apply your problem solving skills in finding a solution. So here, what really matters is how you're able to do something. So giving an answer is important, but how you give that answer is even more important than the answer you're given. So you're able to tell them, walk them through the problem, the problem analysis. You walk them through a problem analysis. Then you're able to tell them, okay, I was able to do this, I was able to do that, I was able to apply this particular problem solving approach. I mean, all those particular steps. Now, it just gives an idea that you are a very, very structured person, and you're able to really apply problem-solving approaches to problems when you encounter one. For example, you're in a project management space, and when I would assume the project you're doing is also a project work. So you have certain ways you are able to approach problems when you encounter problems. And your ability to be able to call out the specific approaches is as important as anything. Okay, so you're able to tell them, okay, I encountered this particular problem in my research work. Probably I was doing a lab work, and something was unavailable, or a project went bad. Okay, the program went bad. That's fine. But what were you able to do to be able to cover up for that lapse or for that particular problem? So documentation is important. Okay, and your storytelling techniques, very, very important as well, because you're able to walk them now through the whole problem phase, and that is very, very important.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for that comment, Scholar Goodness. And yeah, you also asked, the next question was about exactly that Scholar Nima should actually walk you through her undergraduate project. And yeah, so of course, also maybe you can talk about what you expect to hear, and Scholar Habib can also follow suit with what could be useful insights to keep in mind.
So let me just make this very, very brief. So when I asked you to walk me through your project, I mean, there are certain parts of the project that are very, very important. And when I talk about project, I'm talking about your methodology in your project. So what methods did you apply in your project, right? And what were the results of your project? And even more important is the discussion aspect of your project. Okay, you did a project, now you have a result from the project. What are your deductions, right? What are your deductions from the project? And how important is it to the scientific community? Why should we care, right? Why should we care? And if there are any other future directions that you would like, because you can't just do a project and just forget it. Then there has to be some link to some other kind of project, and you should be able to know what other parts of applicability your project actually applies to, right? So it is important for you to be able to know, have a strong grasp of your methodology, because that is really, really important. And of course, you need to be able to tell me your results, and if there are some maybe anomalies in the results you had, you should be able to explain that as well, and you should be able to discuss the project the result of the project, because you did the project. I would assume that you did the whole thing from start to finish, and if you didn't do it from start to finish, you should be able to reference people that helped you and why they were able, why they helped you, why didn't you do it yourself? So these are the important parts, and of course, you need to be able to discuss the results. Discussion of results. It's not enough to have results. You should be able to understand the results you had and the reasons for certain variations or anomalies in the results. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all for me. I mean, no, I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay, so important note that for the problem statement, what was the methodology, what your result, important aspects of stating, giving your research pitch. So, and there was a follow-up question about what was the novelty. And I like, for me personally, that you tried to answer this, but you stuck with, oh yeah, the numbers were the novelty. But if you are really applying for a PhD, I usually say this, if you're applying for a PhD opportunity, it's important that you actually think about, when you ask certain technical questions, they expect you to think like somewhat, there's not much expectation for you to already be a PhD researcher, but to think somewhat like a person who is scientifically curious, who is scientifically, inclined. And that is typically about that the numbers usually are not novel, because like, what is the, like, increasing the numbers, what scientific significance does it present? That is what is more important than the numbers itself. So is it just basically like, I see that, I already conducted 10 people and I see that all of them suffering from cancer, there's a particular gene that is involved, and I specifically just want to do 20 people for fun's sake, that it has to be novel. Then somebody will come up and do 30, and someone will come up and do 50, and someone will come up and do 100. So everybody just, even if you do 101 and then 102, but there is a scientific importance to actually those numbers that makes it actually novel, for example. So in your context, you said, yeah, I screened more numbers, and that was why. So perhaps one of the novel aspect of this kind of project would be that you screened more numbers. So for the first time, you're able to provide more data that allow robust, confirmation or robust, conclusion that this is actually, that there's so thing that happens, So if that is for the first time doing it in a large scale, which allows you to be able to make it, because previous research they did it in a small scale, so the strength of the interpretation of the result, the significance of the result was not as robust as in your experiment. Some experiment, for example, maybe they tested it as a test of principle, a proof of concept, and then they just did one without replicate because it's so much, they just want to test it. And then in your own experience, you had several replicates. You could say that's the strength because previously they haven't really tested with replicates, and now you can show that it doesn't just happen by chance, but actually in independent kind of trials, this is also the case. So you have to think more about the reasoning, the scientific importance of increasing that number rather than just the number itself. I think this is something very, very critical that you have to think about. And then that was just an aspect of the previous question. And the next question was actually further, what are the further directions in your research that you're actually pursuing? I think this was somewhat the question that Scholar Goodness asked. And I didn't really get all the answers, to be honest. But one thing I noted down was Scholar Nima said xanthocylum, right? And I am a plant scientist. Of course, it is xanthocylum, diethyl does not come on the top of my head as a common name that I said, as a common, even scientific, botanical name that I should be aware of. And that is me as a plant scientist. Now, imagine people in different areas of research, professors doing some different lines of research in your panel, and then you're suddenly saying xanthocylum, it's suddenly like, okay, I want to talk gibberish and I don't need you to follow me. That's typically the claim you're making. I want to talk more gibberish now and I don't need you to understand me. And that is not the underlying concept about communication. Communication needs to be, it's you saying something and someone being able to understand it in the manner that you want it to be understood, right? So if you are saying xanthocylum, it doesn't work that way. I say that even if you have to compulsorily say, and by the way, saying botanical name does not mean you are a core scientist. That's not a definition of it. But even if you want to, because of the implication of your research, you want to particularly say the botanical name of your plant or whatnot, please say a common name that is quite known as well. So, for example, you will say Vigna unguiculata, and everybody start looking, and then until you say cowpea, and they're okay, you're talking about cowpea, But suddenly you are talking in a land that people cannot follow, and you know that. So you have to try as much as possible that you have a common name when you talk about scientific concept, that you have, especially scientific names, that you have a common name to actually introduce it, especially in context of plants, right? So if you are dealing with, if it was scientific terminologies that are too ambiguous, don't automatically expect that, this is a professor in so high Harvard University that he should know this, because as you go further in the academia, your area of expertise narrows, and then you become an expert in a particular small area, and extensively a lot of technical terms in that area. But if someone from another distant area in the same still broad field comes and starts speaking, some of the technical terms will be alien to you. You will be like, okay, I don't understand these things. So don't automatically feel like, everybody is professor here, so they should know what I'm talking about. So also, if you are talking in the context of an interview and you're mentioning some technical terms, try as much as possible, one, to limit so much technical terms that you have to mention. And if you have to mention them, try to ensure you put them in a context that allows someone to automatically understand what that technical term is, and rather not just suddenly make the whole sentence and paragraph so ambiguous that, because once they lose you at that first instance and the person is trying to catch you at that first instance, all the follow-up sentences are actually just gone to waste. You cannot carry them along. So this was one thing I noticed, and you can see I already wrote several paragraphs about my comments on it. So I will leave Scholar Goodness. Probably you noted the full response. I didn't note it, like I mentioned. So maybe you can give further comments on that, and Scholar Habib can follow suit as well.
I did not. Probably Scholar Habib did. I did not.
Yeah, actually for me, I'm not a plant scientist. I was completely lost. And and honestly, you might be thinking that now it's a mock session because I'm an engineer, the plant scientist, the physicist. So we are very diverse here. But even on your interview session, we have professors working on, they might all be in the science field and all, but working on something totally different, which means if you want to communicate, you need to be able to communicate like you are communicating with a layman because you don't know who you are dealing with, except in some cases where you have access to the profile of the people that are going to be on your panel. Then you can check them out and know their experience and all. But otherwise, try to communicate like you're talking to layman because it's, and I think again, it was kind of too long. You try to explain a lot of things. But honestly, it felt like you said a lot of things without really saying like the key things. You know, they were not linked to the program and all. So this is my own comment on that question. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then everything you said and more, of course, because like one thing about not having a structured response is that you feel like your response is missing something. And in the journey to finding what is missing, you keep adding words, adding words, adding words, and you are kind of never ending. And in your mind, you don't feel satisfied with the answer. And that is why sometimes you stop abruptly and you're like, no, let me continue. Let me add this and this and this. And at the end of the day, you are just putting so much words into a small space that it's hard to fit everything in and understand what you're saying. So it's very, very important that you think about that. And like I said, some instances you ask technical questions and you want to go technical. You want to really show them that you are an expert in the field, you have the knowledge, which is fine. However, there is the principle, even research papers, good written scientific research papers that say technical things. Even as a layman, you might have problem understanding technical thing, but you would understand the connection. So there are ways you actually communicate even with technical terms that somebody even not in your field will still make a bit of meaning, not to the level that you have, but to a certain level there. So you have to ensure that you are able to communicate on that level. I will make a quick reference to a real life instance, right? Recently, someone had an interview, someone I know had an interview, and before that interview, they asked the person to write a research proposal. So the idea was typically that for your interview, they said, we're going to ask you a question about your research proposal. Then they sent me the interview invite. And then I looked at the profile. Always very good to look at the profile of people, if you have access to it, or people that are coming to your interview. And then I looked at the profile of people that were coming. They were basically people from business, from NGO, from whatever, like totally not relevant, not in that field at all. Like it's not even a nearest field like human, maybe plant, human. No, these people don't even do research. They're just involved in management. And they said, we're going to ask you a question about your research. And of course, the person was like, okay, I told them, prepare for technical, understand what you're saying. And then on the interview came and they asked the person the question about, oh, what do you want to do for your master's? And then the person started going with a lot of technical, and they're like, why do you want to do this? Because suddenly it's like, as people who are not in the field, we are more interested in why and what is the relevance than exactly the details of exactly what you want to do. Now, what I'm getting to is this. If you do not understand your proposal, you would find it hard to be able to convey it to people who are not in the field at all why it's important. Because suddenly, if you are already stuck on technical terms, suddenly you cannot escape that. Or you're like, how do I explain this for these idiots to understand? But the truth is, it's not their fault that they are not in the field. It's not their problem that they are not in the field. They just want to understand what you have to say. But if you do understand it well and you're able to move out of your technical world, out of your kind of small domain to really explain things to people well, then you have a very strong shot at making a positive impression. And this is actually exactly going back again to the communication aspect that Scholar Goodness mentioned in his first talk, right? Being able to really effectively being able to communicate properly. So this was actually the last question we had, slightly disrupted because of the internet, and we are happy that we were able to actually still push it to this point right now. And so for kind of a final note, we initially wanted the interviewees to ask questions, right? To kind of ask us because this is typical of an interview context. What they will ask you at the end of the interview, what do you have questions for us? And we asked them actually to prepare questions for us. So maybe I quickly spotlight Sakanima and Scholar Liu. You can just ask the questions you have prepared so that we can quickly treat that aspect of the program, and then we can maybe get questions from the audience. By the way, the audience, if you have questions or comments or anything you want, you can actually already start dropping them so I can actually attend to them. That is, if you do have them, please type them and then we can see and address them properly. Thank you. Scholar Nima, you go first. You prepared some questions for us? What are the questions? Now I've said people should ask questions. Scholar Nima has left again. Okay. All right, Scholar Nima, go on. You are muted, sorry.
I wanted to ask about breeding intermediates with grass. I want to know what method is actually used in breeding. Is it the traditional or modern genetic tools that are being used in breeding the plants?
Is that all your question, or do you have more?
No, that's
Okay.
all the question I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Scholar Nima, for that that question. Mind you, for everybody on the course, Scholar Nima was for the sake of this program, she was applying to the intermediate wheat grass breeding program, PhD position at University of Kentucky. So now let's look at it. This feels weird to review questions that have been asked, but okay, Scholar Liu is here. Maybe we also take from Scholar Liu. Scholar Liu, are you able to talk now? You can tell us if you have questions for us and what the question is. Scholar Liu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm muted.
We can hear you now. Are we? Yeah. No, I cannot
Hello.
hear.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go on.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go on. Okay. So, Scholar Liu, perhaps we will just move on so that we don't spend so much time waiting here. So that we can wrap up the session quickly. So we will address Scholar Nima's question. So the Nima's question was more technical about exactly what breeding strategies are currently being used. I assume that the other panelists will be looking at the plant scientist to be like the first person to comment on it, because it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be the one to know what to actually say as a response to that. But interestingly, I think, of course, I know that your project is your program that you're actually simulating for this mock session is a project-based program. So it makes sense to be curious about some technical aspect of the program. However, I have to say that your question specifically goes into what the project is actually on. And usually for the best practices, we advise don't go too technical, because sometimes the people who are actually, I mean, if you are having an interview with the lab professor and you want to get into the lab, it's a different context, because you can directly ask them, oh, sir, what are the current techniques you have in the lab that you're using to address this problem, so that I know what I'm going to work with when I join you. This is very okay question, right? But if you are working with a panel, so this is kind of context-based, you now start to see. If you are working with a panel of interviewers who are there to evaluate you based on an open position and whatnot, then you have to then think about exactly how to best ask this question. Because then if you're asking too much of a technical question, when you're asking too much of a core technical question, it kind of like, okay, nobody's there to answer you. And it's like, why are you asking us? Why are you putting us on unnecessary spotlight right now? It's not the best way. So in summary, what you should think about is that when you have to ask questions, that you ask questions that are actually, I would advise really, except you're kind of having a one-on-one like with lab supervisors, ask questions that are not too technical in and of itself, so that the people can directly be able to give you comments on that. There are varying questions, and there are really techniques behind reasoning behind different questions that you ask. And this is something that we've talked about, of course, over time with several individuals that have taken mock sessions with us. And is that one of the questions would be exactly about the program, but like maybe even ask them maybe what mobility, for example, in Erasmus program, you could ask them exactly how does the program work in terms of maybe if it's not clearly stated in the website. So try as much as possible that you read the website thoroughly, and you're not asking a question that is very on the front page on the home page of the website. They're like, you're asking them, oh, for example, what's the name of the program? I forgot, or something like this. I know it's weird, but that's a kind of a weird example, I know, of course. But ask them questions that are actually reasonable, that you cannot find on the website. Something about exactly like is there a possibility to do kind of internship within the 2 months between the first mobility and the second mobility? Is it okay for students? Are they allowed to do a kind of internship during this time? This is a question you could ask. You could also ask them, what are the tips to become a successful candidate in this during this program. Like this question actually prompts them to kind of advise you. They kind of invest in terms of advice to you and kind of prompt them to show that, oh yeah, I want to be a successful candidate and I'm already looking forward to how to become a successful candidate, right? Another third question you could actually ask is exactly what do they think is the best aspect of the program? This is a very interesting question because then they have to defend the program. They have to, pitch the program to you, and then suddenly they're in the spotlight, and they're like, okay, so I have to really defend the program, the people that are paying me, So I have to ensure that this student actually sees, because whether I believe it or not, on the professor's side, they always want to get the best candidate. Like if they see you as a very good candidate, they want to talk to you. They want you to be convinced, so that because when they offer you, they really need you to come to the program, right? So when you ask this question and it's more like, okay, now I have to really tell you about what is the high points of this program, and several other questions that of course are quite relevant to the program based on what you're genuinely curious about. If it's a PhD position, you could say if there are specific requirements within the department for publication. Maybe there's a level of publication you have to establish before you graduate, something like that. This could also be if there are support for international conferences. Maybe there are funds specifically allocated for international conferences. If there are, you could also inquire about that, and this is some legitimate questions you could ask. So for Scholar Habib and Scholar Goodness, you can comment on this, but while you are commenting on this, I just need you to tag it with the question that is already in the chat box, which is that somebody asked that about strengths and weaknesses, like how to answer questions regarding strength. If I'm asked what are my strengths and weaknesses, and how to answer that question. So Scholar Habib, you go first, and then Scholar Goodness can follow.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Honestly, when I heard that question, I was like, okay, because again, we have to be careful. Like Scholar Malik said, you have to be careful that the question you are asking is not a question you can easily find on Google. It's not a question that you can easily find maybe by reading about the program. For example, if the program is saying that this is the current state of the art, in their description, they already said this is the current state of the art, and this is what we want to do to improve the current state of the art. Then you go to the interview question and then you ask them, what is the state of the art? So like Scholar Malik said, you have to be careful that the question, if you want to ask a technical question, you have to be careful that it's not something that you can easily find. Because if you ask them a question that you can easily find, it shows that you are not a good student. Honestly, it's like you can't do your research or you're not a good researcher, so be careful of that and know what to ask them. But honestly, it's a valid question. You are curious. It shows that you are curious to know more. And yes, that's all for me on that. Now, the question about the strength and the weakness, the way I like to see this kind of question is for the person that has this question. Imagine that you are a CEO of a company and you want to recruit. What kind of characteristics would you be looking for in your employee? What kind of ability? It's more like they're asking you, what is your ability? What are you bringing to the table when they're asking about the strength? So, for example, you are a researcher and they're asking you what is your strength. You should be able to demonstrate that one of your strengths is you being able to perform rigorous research. You have the ability to perform extensive, you can understand technical terms. These are some of your strengths. And like Scholar Goodness said, don't just tell it, show it. How do you show it? Give an example. For example, during my undergraduate project, I was confronted with this problem. This is how I was able to address it. Give them real life experience that you had to show what are your strengths. Now, for application, graduate school application, for example, your strength is going to be, what is the objective of the program? The objective is for you to come and do research, right? Demonstrate your strengths in ability to do research. Everybody here, I can tell, as long as you've finished your undergraduate, even if you are still an undergraduate student, you are going to take up a thesis, you're going to do your project. It makes you a researcher already. So you should be able to find a link of when I was doing my research, this is how I was able to do. These are the strengths. These are the my ability. This is what I was able to do. So this is what they are looking for. Your communication skill is a strength. Give them an example. Maybe you are able to leadership skill. While you are an undergraduate, you took up some leadership project. You led some set of students. These are some of your strengths. You have the leadership skills. These are some of the things they are looking for. So they are looking for your skills in technical aspects. They are looking for your skills in leadership communication. So these are some of the strengths that you can point out. Now, when they're asking you questions about your weakness, it's not as if they want to kill you. So they are looking for a way to get into you. Of course not. So it's like, should we be scared of something about you if we are going to take you in? What should we be wary of? What should we be considering? For example, you can say your weakness. I mean, just an example, it's like, I overcommit to project. Why is this a weakness? It's a weakness because it makes you to neglect some other important things, and then you focus on just one thing. It's a weakness because the other part, the other project, for example, is going to suffer. But you don't say it as a weakness on its own. You say it in a way that even if it's a weakness, it's still a strength in its own. And then you show that you're actually currently working on it. If I say, okay, my weakness is the fact that I overcommit to a project, I might say, in my defense, I might say, oh yeah, but currently I'm taking courses on time management, project management, so that I know how to delegate my time, how to delegate project, and all, how to work around this. So you've told them your weakness, which, if they look at it, I mean, we can also interpret it as a strength, because it means if you are focused on a particular project, you'll be able to deliver. But then, while you show it as a weakness, also show them that you are working on it to make it better. So I think I'll leave it at that, and Scholar Goodness can take it from there.
Yeah, I completely agree with Scholar Habib. I mean, you have strengths, I believe, and that's why you've been invited for the interview. And of course, you also have weaknesses. So the weaknesses, again, what is to be highlighted is the fact that there is a growth path for your weaknesses. I mean, if you have it all figured out as a graduate, as a prospective graduate student, then why are you there? So there is always room for growth, and that is what is important. You have strengths, and I actually advise that you highlight this really well. Highlight your strengths really well. And for your weaknesses, if you're asked that, you just need to tell them that, okay, these are my weaknesses, like as Scholar Habib has already said. Tell them your weaknesses and how you've been working to correct these weaknesses, right? And of course, I believe the graduate school program is a very nice area where these weaknesses could actually become strengths later on, because it's a breeding ground for growth, right? That is why you're coming in. You don't have it all figured out, and when you come into the graduate program, you won't have it all figured out too. But that's why it's a journey, right? It's a journey for you to become better as a person. So weaknesses in itself is not really a bad thing, but your ability to be able to show that you're willing to grow in the program is what is important.
Yeah, well said, really well said. Just one liner, I mean, just not really one liner, but just something to add up to that is that your weakness should never be something that really undermines you as a person. Like somebody was once saying that in one of our main sessions that yeah, so I'm not able to do this on a kind of a technical skill level. And I'm like, if you already say you're not able to do this as your weakness, and if this is a crucial aspect of something that they need from their applicant, then it's kind of very, very hard for you to be selected, right? So weaknesses should be something usually that happens in certain contexts, but are really not part of you. Like, for example, oh, I find it hard to say no to people. It's not like it's kind of something that happens in context where you're asked for help and you cannot say no, right? I find it hard to speak in public. It doesn't mean you cannot speak on 1-to-1 or 1-to-3 or 1-to-4, but maybe when the public is too large of an audience, you find it hard and you're trying to actively, overcome that, So it should be something that actually kind of happens in a certain context, because otherwise it kind of undermines your kind of your skill level and your experience, and you and kind of sometimes maybe even undermine your candidacy for the program. Okay, so someone asked in the audience about, it was about exactly, can one ask the panel what they think of their performance in the interview? So I actually asked someone who recently had an interview to do that actually, and but I didn't ask. I didn't really tell him to say, "What do you think about my performance?" It was more about, do you feel are you convenient with the responses I've given you, or do you need further clarification on certain aspect of my responses? So this was kind of a really smart way to kind of assess if they have reserve. Of course, they are also smart persons, so maybe they say, "Yeah, we think you've answered everything correctly," but it kind of allows them to quickly reflect on if they really think, because sometimes you are not paying attention, right? And you kind of answered. A lot of times I've had this experience where some people answer one question when you're asked two questions in one. So they ask you maybe, for example, what are your strengths and weaknesses? And because the person is thinking about, I ended up saying 7 paragraphs about strength, they totally forget their weakness. Sometimes the person is answering the strength, made an example, totally zoned into the example so much so that they forgot they were answering the question on strength. So at the end of the day, they finish their example and they're like, "Oh, I've done," and then they forget the question. And then sometimes like this, maybe the audience, maybe the interviewer can help you and say, yeah, perhaps you could comment a bit more on this aspect," and that's actually for your own benefit. But it's kind of not a bad question to ask. And for tips, I will give you kind of 3 tips. I usually say this, and now it's going to be on air everywhere because it's going to be on our YouTube page. So usually you should prepare, like Scholar Bib mentioned during the course of our mock session, that you should prepare for circumstances and questions that you didn't prepare for. Like, you should know that you are going to prepare, fine, but there are going to be instances where you ask the question that is you totally did not think about before. And when they ask, it's very important that you show some level of confidence. And being nervous is not bad. It's totally not wrong to be nervous. I still get nervous at the front of a talk, in fact. I mean, whenever I still give a talk, maybe the first 1 minute, 2 minutes, I'm kind of like easing in. But it is how you manage it that is very important, right? You have to be able to manage it effectively in a manner that people don't see. You don't project that on what you say. You don't allow that to infer what you inform how you react or something like that. You try to manage it internally. And that is why smiling as an external smile forces you to, I don't know the mechanics behind that, but it kind of allows you to really calm your nerves internally and allows you to kind of be able to direct the interview in a good manner. Don't be, by the way, disclaimer, don't be deceived by the smiling panelists. They will always smile at you. They won't tell you they're going to reject you. It's because you cannot hold their neck once they send that email to you. So the 3 tips I'm going to give you exactly about maybe how you can manage if you ask some questions you didn't plan for is you want to buy time for yourself, right? You want to buy a bit of, even if it's just 20 seconds for yourself, just for you to gather your thoughts. Because the mistake you want to always avoid is jumping into a question before you actually even realize what the question is. Right? So, because some people will start talking, they just believe, let's start talking first, and then we figure it out. Please don't do that, because sometimes you just end up saying something totally out, and you lead yourself astray that way. However, if you started saying anything, and at a point you think, "Oh, this is I'm answering it wrongly," you can always take a pause and say, "Please permit me to start again," and start again. They say the longer you stay on the train past your destination, I mean, the farther away you get from your destination. That's how the statement actually goes, right? So if you automatically catch yourself saying something, don't try to say, as you are still extending, you're trying to correct it in the statement. Just take a pause there, start again. Rather than being there and trying to still steer it to the right direction, you end up saying 7 paragraph worth of statements. So one thing you can do is actually ask them to repeat the question again, right? You can ask them, "Excuse me, I didn't get that. Please, can you repeat it again?" And while they are trying to repeat it, then even if it's just 10 seconds, you kind of use that to quickly gather your thoughts on how you want to respond, because you already know what the question is. The second thing you could probably try is typically that you repeat the question. So they ask you, why should you be selected? So thank you very much for the question. So if I get it correctly, you mean, why should I be selected for this opportunity? Okay. So typically you've bought yourself maybe 10 seconds or so from just with that. And then the third thing probably you do is you probably have a glass of water and you ask the question. You don't spend 20 minutes drinking water, please, but just a reasonable time to say, excuse me, and then it's 10 seconds and you've already, like, you allow that time to really allow you to kind of get at it. It doesn't also mean that every question, introduce yourself, excuse me, please. And then, why should you be selected? Excuse me, please. You kind of continue to do that towards the end of the interview. They are going to be like, please, do you have a medical condition that we need to be aware about? Or something like this. So you really need to kind of not overdo it, but these are kind of tips, tricks that you can actually use to manage it, because a successful interview is an interview that you've successfully been able to manage. Like, it feels weird that you, the interviewee, are the one managing the interview, but if you can manage and guide the direction of the interview, it works in your path, right? So try to, as much as possible, keep those actively in mind. So closing words, everyone. Scholar Goodness, Scholar Habib, maybe you lead this closing session, and yeah.
Yes, I think two things. We have like a list of some common questions that you should expect. Scholar Goodness is going to put that up later on, but before then, one of our big boss, Scholar Yusuf, would like to have some words with us to give some contribution. So Scholar Yusuf, please, can you go ahead? Scholar Yusuf?
Is there an internet problem in the UK, Scholar Yusuf?
Okay, perhaps Scholar Yusuf is no longer with us.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry about that. I was on something, so I just heard you called my name. Yeah, well done, guys. Interesting session so far. It's so interesting. I'm sorry, I should be the one facilitating or anchoring this, but for an unavoidable reason, I'm absent. So I'm sorry about that once again. So I just like to chip in 3 things, just to sum up what you guys have shared today, because there's nothing I want to add again, because you guys have actually talked about almost everything. But I think these 3 things will kind of ring-fence what you've talked about today. So the first thing I'd like our audience to note is, when you are faced with interview, please note that, or you should remember that interview is not just about your answers. So it's about how well you can tell your story. So it's about storytelling. It's not about cramming some responses on Google and giving them all of those things. It's about storytelling. It's about the impression you give. It's about what stays with the interviewers even after the interview. So that's the first thing. So the second thing I would like to share with you is so scholarship and grad school. So it's like, this scholarship thing is not given to the best candidate sometimes. So it's given to candidates that are ready. So it's given to the people that can show readiness, not the best kind sometimes. Sometimes you can see you have a first class, you have all the awards in this life, and you realize that you're not selected. So sometimes it's not given to the best candidate. It's given to student that can show readiness. So you need to communicate that in your interview. And the last thing I'd like to share is, I think when you join the call, or if it's in-person interview or whatever means the interview medium is, you shouldn't walk in there or join the meeting and give an impression of you begging. You're not begging. So you're not begging them to do you any favor. They're not doing you any favor. You're there to offer a value. They need you to do that research. They need you to come and study in your school and add to their alumni network. They never know what you can become. Chicago State University or whatever doesn't know Tinubu will become Nigeria president today. So, and that's like an addition to the alum community. So you're not going there to actually benefit anything or doing you a favor. You're going there to offer value. So please carry yourself as such. And I wish you all the best in your graduate school endeavors. So thank you very much. And I apologize once again for my lateness. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Scholar Yusuf. We really appreciate that. Yeah. So before I allow Scholar Goodness to give us that slide, just to kind of recap on all what we've said. I mean, if you look at the whole discussion of this session, it centers around, firstly, you have to prepare. What kind of preparation do you have to do? Make sure that you have good internet connection. Very, very important. No matter how good you are, no matter how much stuff you have upstairs that you want to give to them, you prepared for 5 days, 10 days. If the network is not good, they won't see this. They won't be able to hear you. They won't be able to tell what you want. They won't be able to tell what you have for them. So please make sure your internet connection is very good. Your camera positioning, your body languages. Part of your preparation is actually making research about the program. The program, the members of the jury. I mean, make your deep research. So this is part of your preparation. And now, during the course of the interview, always make sure that your story links to the program. I mean, you might have other applications, you've applied to a lot of places, but this interview is for this interview. This interview is for this project. Make sure that your story always aligns with what they're looking for, their project, I mean, yeah, this is why you've applied, because you think you are a good fit, right? So know the program, you prepare well. So again, while answering the questions, first of all, ask yourself, what are they looking for in this question? It's not just about you telling me about your project. What is exactly what they're looking for? Is it the fact that, okay, maybe the technical skills that you applied during your project is relevant to the program? It might only be that they are looking for. So no matter what you tell me, maybe you tell me you became a Nobel laureate about your project when you did your project and all. It's of no interest to them. What is interesting to them is what are the skills that you are bringing. So know the intent behind the question that they're asking. So this will guide you to know what you should actually talk about. I mean, most of what we've discussed so far, this is just like a summary of everything. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. So Scholar Goodness is going to give us the last slide, just to show us some other questions you can anticipate during a graduate school interview. Thank you.
Scholar Goodness. Yep.
Okay.
Guys, can you see it now?
Yes, we can see them. So yeah, maybe they can take some pictures, or you can take a screenshot as you want. I mean, this is not exhaustive, but it's just like to give you an idea that what we've covered here, it's not really exhaustive. It's just the questions that the time permitted us to take.
Yeah. So I guess we don't really need to spend so much showing it, because they would also get access to it on the YouTube. So yeah. So that's nice that you actually already showed it. So yeah, just brief comments before Scholar Habib, you have to wrap the session up. But before then, I would just say that it's a journey from the graduate applications phase to the interview phase to resuming your grad program. It's a journey, a transformative one, and usually we are here because we've gone through it and managed to be successful at it, and that experience is what we're trying to leverage to really guide the insight we've shared here today. So you should know that everything we've said here today is, of course, based on our experience, and of course also with the experience we've gathered, not just from the interviews we've had, but also from guiding several other individuals to a successful interview experience. So this is what we've shared for you, but there could be tips, there could be hacks, there could be tricks that we've not mentioned today, and that is totally fine if you can exploit. the point is that you have to be very intentional about what you say, and importantly, sorry, you should, one, try to have a structure to what you say. There should be a pattern to what you say. And when you practice, some people have the habit of practicing responses and reading it verbatim from start to finish. It's important that you write down responses. I tell people, when you prepare for interview, write down your responses on paper, so that effective writing kind of allows you to really immerse yourself in it. But importantly, just note what are the key things you want to mention. Don't really kind of try to commit everything from start to finish on the memory, so that you can be a bit flexible and it can seem a bit natural about it, right? Very important. But understand that when you do a graduate interview, these tips does not mean it's going to be successful at the end of the day. It means that you've prepared and you've done your best. But you should understand that interviews are evaluated on a comparative note. If that is why sometimes, usually, that you get a rejection it's not really saying you didn't do your interview well. It's more really saying sometimes that somebody did better job, or not even that somebody did better job, but maybe somebody was more fitting to the role than you are, based on the experiences you've had. So, but on your own end, what you can change and what you can work on is your preparation. What you can do is ensure that you do the interview with due diligence and do it to the level that is, befitting of it. A strong candidate for the opportunity, and then fingers crossed. But if you don't get it right the first time, keep trying at it and stick to these principles, work with them, specificity, structure, and being intentional. And I think that should be very helpful. So these are my closing words, and I really wish everyone who's anticipating their interview, or those who are already having their interview, expressing responses, a successful outcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scholar Malik. And thank you, everyone, for your time. It has been a really wonderful session. So just keep in mind, if you go for an interview, you get rejected afterwards, it's not really the end of your applications. It's just to show you that you've really done your best. You've tried for you to have gotten to an interview session. Then, it shows that you can actually get the scholarship or the funding. So do not stop. Continue to apply till you get that one. Yes, and it's always also very good to have like a mock session, mock interview. Like, it might be with your friends, it might be with anybody, just to kind of prepare you for how you're going to do for the actual interview. So I wish everyone all the very best in their applications. Thank you so much. So we are going to be rounding up now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much, guys.